Have you ever done everything right and still been left behind? You were kind, respectful, available. You listened to her problems, supported her dreams, and treated her better than anyone else. Yet somehow, her interest faded. Her messages became shorter. Her enthusiasm disappeared. And eventually, she walked away, leaving you with one painful question. If being a good man wasn't enough, then what was? This is where many men become confused. Some become bitter. Others convince themselves that women don't like good men. But what if the problem was never kindness itself? What if the real issue is that many men confuse kindness with self-sacrifice, approval-seeking, and the fear of disappointing others? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Magnetic Masculinity channel. In today's video, we're going to uncover why some nice guys lose attraction, why genuine kindness is still powerful, and the critical difference between being a good man and becoming a man who abandons himself to be liked. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may completely change the way you think about attraction, respect, and masculine strength. Now let's get started. Part 1. The difference between being kind and seeking approval. Before we go any further, we need to clear up one of the biggest misconceptions in modern dating. Women do not lose interest because a man is kind. They lose interest when kindness becomes neediness. Those are not the same thing. A truly kind man gives because it aligns with his character. A people-pleasing man gives because he hopes to receive something in return. Attention, affection, validation, acceptance. At first glance, their behavior may look similar. Both are helpful, both are generous, both are considerate. But underneath, the motivation is completely different. The kind man says, "I choose to do this." The approval seeker says, "I hope this makes you like me." And people can feel that difference, even if they cannot explain it. This is where many good-hearted men unknowingly create problems for themselves. They become afraid of disappointing others, afraid of saying no, afraid of creating conflict. So they constantly adjust themselves to keep everyone happy. They agree when they want to disagree. They tolerate behavior that bothers them. They suppress their own needs to avoid rejection. Little by little, they stop being authentic. And authenticity is one of the foundations of attraction. Think about it. How can someone truly connect with you if they never see the real you? If every opinion is filtered, every boundary is softened, every decision is made to gain approval, then they are not building a relationship with who you are. They are building a relationship with who you think they want you to be. And eventually, that becomes exhausting, not only for you, but for them as well. The truth is, confidence is attractive because it reveals authenticity. A confident man is willing to be liked, but he is also willing to be disliked. He respects others without abandoning himself, and that is the key lesson. Kindness becomes powerful when it comes from strength, but when it comes from fear, it often loses the very quality that makes it attractive. Because the goal is not to become less kind. The goal is to stop making kindness dependent on being accepted. And that single shift changes everything. Part 2. Why nice guys struggle to set boundaries. One of the most common traits of men who are constantly described as too nice is not kindness. It's the inability to set boundaries. Many men grow up believing that being a good person means always being available, always being understanding, always putting other people's needs before their own. So when someone asks for their time, they say yes. When someone crosses a line, they stay silent. When something feels unfair, they convince themselves to tolerate it, not because they want to, but because they fear what might happen if they don't. They fear conflict. They fear disappointing people. And most of all, they fear rejection. This is where the problem begins. Because every healthy relationship requires boundaries. Without boundaries, respect slowly disappears. Think about it. If someone can constantly cancel plans without consequences, ignore your needs, or take your effort for granted. What incentive do they have to change? Over time, people naturally adjust to what you allow, not because they are malicious, but because human nature tends to follow the standards that are set. This is why boundaries are so important. They communicate value, they communicate self-respect, they communicate that your time, energy, and attention matter. The irony is that many nice guys avoid boundaries because they want to be liked. Yet the absence of boundaries often leads to the exact opposite result. Instead of creating attraction, it creates imbalance. Instead of creating respect, it creates familiarity without appreciation. The calm, confident man understands something different. He can be kind and still say no. He can be respectful and still disagree. He can care deeply about someone without sacrificing his standards. And that combination is powerful. Because boundaries do not push healthy people away. They reveal who respects you and who only benefits from your lack of limits. That is a difficult lesson for many men to learn. But once they do, everything changes. They stop trying to earn respect through endless sacrifice and start building relationships based on mutual respect. Because the truth is, people are rarely attracted to a man who abandons himself for their approval. They are attracted to a man who respects himself enough to protect what matters. And that begins with boundaries. Not walls, not arrogance, not control, just the quiet confidence to say, this is what I will accept, and this is what I won't. And that simple ability often makes a man far more attractive than all the effort he spent trying to please everyone around him. Before we continue, I'd like to hear your opinion. What do you think is harder, saying no or risking that someone might not like you? Comment saying no or not being liked below. And if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to Magnetic Masculinity for more insights on confidence, self-respect, and healthy relationships. Now, let's continue, because the next lesson reveals why constantly trying to please others often weakens attraction instead of strengthening it. Part 3. Why attraction needs challenge, not compliance. One of the biggest mistakes many nice guys make is believing that attraction grows when they agree with everything. So they avoid disagreement, they avoid conflict, they avoid anything that might create tension. If she likes something, they like it too. If she has an opinion, they quickly adopt it. If she changes her mind, they adjust themselves to match. At first, this may seem like kindness, but over time, something important begins to disappear. Authenticity. Because attraction is not built on perfect agreement. It is built on genuine connection. And genuine connection requires two real people, not one person and a mirror. Think about the people you respect most. Do you respect them because they always agree with you? Or because they have their own beliefs, values, and perspectives? Most likely, it's the second. The same principle applies to attraction. A woman may appreciate a man who is respectful, but she is often drawn to a man who has the confidence to think for himself. A man who can disagree without becoming defensive. A man who can challenge ideas without creating unnecessary conflict. A man who has his own standards, his own direction, and his own identity. Why? Because confidence is attractive, and confidence requires independence. The problem with excessive compliance is that it often communicates fear. Fear of losing approval, fear of creating tension, fear of being rejected. And when fear becomes the driving force behind your behavior, people notice, you stop expressing yourself honestly. You start saying what you think others want to hear. And slowly you become less authentic. The irony is that many men believe they are creating attraction by being endlessly accommodating. But attraction often fades when there is no individuality left. Because admiration grows when someone stands for something, when they have convictions, when they remain true to themselves even when it would be easier not to. The calm, confident man understands this. He doesn't create challenges for the sake of appearing strong. He doesn't argue to prove a point. But neither does he abandon his beliefs simply to be liked. He respects others enough to be honest. and he respects himself enough to remain authentic. That balance is powerful because the goal is not to become difficult. The goal is to become real, and people are naturally drawn to those who are real, especially in a world where so many are pretending. In the end, attraction does not grow because a man always agrees. It grows because he is secure enough to be himself, and there is nothing more attractive than that. Part 4. Why self-respect is more attractive than sacrifice. Many men are taught a dangerous lesson without ever realizing it. They are taught that love means sacrifice. Sacrifice your time. Sacrifice your needs. Sacrifice your boundaries. Sacrifice your happiness. And if you sacrifice enough, eventually you will be loved in return. At first, this idea sounds noble, but in reality, it often leads men down a painful path. Because there is a difference between making sacrifices for a relationship and sacrificing yourself for a relationship. One strengthens love, the other destroys it. Many nice guys slowly lose themselves because they believe their value comes from how much they can give. So they keep giving. Even when they feel exhausted, even when they feel unappreciated, even when their effort is no longer being matched, they tell themselves that if they just try harder, love will return, respect will return, attraction will return. But relationships rarely work that way. The truth is, people tend to value what has value. And when a man constantly communicates that his own needs come last, he unintentionally teaches others to believe the same. Not because they are cruel, but because human beings naturally respond to the standards we set. This is why self-respect is so important. Self-respect says, my feelings matter too. My needs matter too. My boundaries matter too. And that mindset changes everything, because self-respect creates balance. It allows a man to love deeply without losing himself, to care without becoming dependent, to give without expecting validation in return. The irony is that many men fear self-respect will make them appear selfish, but the opposite is often true. A man who respects himself tends to be more emotionally healthy, more confident, more trustworthy, because his kindness comes from choice, not obligation. And people can feel that difference. There is something deeply attractive about a man who knows his worth, not because he thinks he is better than others, but because he refuses to treat himself as less important than everyone else. That quiet dignity creates respect, and respect is one of the foundations of lasting attraction. The painful reality is that many men spend years trying to earn love through sacrifice, only to discover that love without respect rarely survives. But a man who respects himself changes the entire dynamic, because he is no longer saying, "I'll do anything to keep you." Instead, he is saying, "I care about you, but I will not abandon myself." And that may be one of the most attractive qualities a man can possess, because true strength is not found in how much of yourself you give away. It is found in how well you protect what makes you who you are. Part 5. What women actually respect in a man. After everything we've discussed, we arrive at the question that many men have been asking all along. If women don't lose interest because a man is kind, then what do they actually respect in a man? The answer is simpler than most people think. Women respect kindness, but they respect strength even more. Not physical strength, not dominance, not aggression. The strength to remain true to yourself. The strength to maintain your standards. The strength to walk away from what is unhealthy. And the strength to say no when necessary. This is where many men become confused. They believe they must choose between being kind and being strong, between being caring and being confident, between being compassionate and being respected. But mature masculinity requires both. A man who is only strong can become cold. A man who is only kind can become easy to overlook. The most attractive men combine both qualities. They are respectful, but not submissive, generous, but not self-sacrificing, compassionate, but not desperate for approval. And because of that balance, people naturally trust and respect them. Think about the men who leave a lasting impression. They are not usually the loudest. They are not usually the most charming. They are often the men who know who they are, the men who remain calm under pressure, the men who keep their word, the men who have boundaries, the men who treat others well without allowing themselves to be mistreated. That is what creates lasting attraction, because attraction may begin with chemistry, but respect is what keeps it alive. And respect cannot exist without self-respect. This is the lesson many nice guys spend years trying to learn. The problem was never kindness. The problem was abandoning themselves in the hope of being loved. The moment a man stops doing that, everything changes. His confidence becomes genuine. His relationships become healthier. His decisions become stronger. And his presence becomes more attractive. Not because he has learned a new trick, but because he has finally stopped pretending to be someone else. The irony is that the men who are most respected are often the men who no longer spend their lives trying to earn respect. They live according to their values. They protect their dignity, and they allow the right people to appreciate them for who they truly are. That is what women respect. Not perfection, not endless sacrifice, not blind obedience, but a man who can be kind without being weak, confident without being arrogant, and loving without losing himself. Because in the end, the most attractive man is not the one who gives away everything to be loved. He is the one who values himself enough to love others without abandoning who he is. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this video, remember this. The world doesn't need fewer kind men. It needs more strong men who are kind. Men who can care deeply without becoming dependent. Men who can love without losing themselves. Men who can give without expecting approval in return. The deeper lesson is simple. Never trade your self-respect for acceptance. Be generous, be respectful, and be compassionate, but never at the cost of your identity, your boundaries, or your values. Starting today, pay attention to one question. Am I doing this because it reflects who I am, or because I'm afraid of not being liked? That single question can reveal more about your relationships than almost anything else. When your kindness comes from strength rather than fear, people experience a completely different version of you. A more confident version, a more authentic version, a more attractive version. Because true attraction is not created by trying to earn love. It is created by becoming someone who respects himself first. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below and share the biggest lesson you learned today. And if you want more insights on masculine confidence, self-respect, emotional strength, and healthy relationships, make sure to subscribe to Magnetic Masculinity and turn on notifications. Your support helps this channel continue creating meaningful content for men who want to become stronger, wiser, and more grounded in today's world. Thank you for watching. And remember, a good man is not attractive because he gives everything away. He is attractive because he knows his value and refuses to lose himself to gain someone else's approval. Thank you for taking the time to watch until the end of the video. See you in the next videos.